What's up everybody, I'm HoopsandHipHop, and welcome to the second part of my 25 Awesome Facts series about the Pokémon movies. In the first part, we discussed some awesome facts about the first 3 Pokémon movies, so if you haven't seen that video yet, be sure to check it out after this video by clicking the card in the top right corner of the screen. In this second part, we're going to be discussing 25 awesome facts about the next 3 Pokémon movies, Pokémon Forever, Pokémon Heroes, and Jirachi Wish Maker. I've got some awesome stuff to share with you guys, so let's get right into it. Starting things off with Pokémon Forever, the opening scene has Brock narrating the events of when Ash first met Pikachu, and that moment from the first episode is shown with new animation. However, Ash is shown in his normal clothes when receiving Pikachu, when he was actually in his pajamas when this moment occurred in the first episode. Speaking of that moment from the first episode, when Professor Oak met Ash in his laboratory, Oak had already met Ash previously due to the events of this movie. Because of that, the reason, or at least part of the reason Professor Oak offered Pikachu to Ash was so Ash could go on his journey and ultimately meet Professor Oak once more and fulfill the timeline. This also creates an infinite loop, where every time Ash goes on his journey and meets Sammy Oak, Oak grows up and sends Ash on his journey, only to meet Oak again and restart the loop. Pokémon Forever is sadly the last Pokémon film to see an official theatrical release in North America. The 5th Pokémon movie, Pokémon Heroes, did make its way into theaters, however it was in a limited release format and therefore not a full-blown theatrical release like the first 4 films. In some of the promotional posters for this movie, my main mon Cyndaquil as well as Totodile make an appearance. However, even though they're on the posters, these 2 Pokémon don't actually appear in the movie itself. Turning our attention back to Professor Oak, young Sammy Oak has a hobby of sketching Pokémon. Another infamous Pokémon sketcher is Tracy, who coincidentally becomes Professor Oak's assistant. Pokémon Forever is also the first movie that doesn't feature any talking Pokémon besides Meowth. In the first movie there was Mewtwo, in the second movie there was Slowking and Lugia, and in the third movie there was Entei. This movie also marks the first time in the anime that a caught legendary Pokémon is featured, and so far it marks the only time that a legendary Pokémon is caught on screen. Now this last fact about Pokémon Forever is a particularly cool one, as this movie marks the only time in the anime that scenes were animated specifically for Western audiences. 2 of them are relatively minor, but the third one is actually an alternate ending. In this new scene, Ash is talking on the phone with Professor Oak and telling him how sad he is that he won't ever see his new friend Sammy again. However, Oak assures Ash that he and Sammy will always be friends even though Ash never told Oak Sammy's name. Misty then makes a comment wondering how Oak could have known Sammy's name and thereby alludes to the fact that they are the same person. In the original scene, this fact is also alluded to, but in a much more subtle way. The reason the scene was changed was because the English voice cast watched the original and were completely confused on whether or not Sammy was actually Professor Oak. To fix this, the alternate ending was created in order to more clearly show to Western viewers that Sammy and Professor Oak are indeed the same person. Moving on to the 5th movie in the series, Pokémon Heroes is the first Pokémon movie that does not have some sort of numerical label in its title. Before it was Pokémon the First Movie, Pokémon the Movie 2000, Pokémon 3 the Movie, and Pokémon Forever. The main antagonists of Pokémon Heroes are 2 members of Team Rocket named Annie and Oakley. If their names sound familiar, it's because they are named after the famous Wild West sharpshooter Annie Oakley. However, these 2 aren't the only members of Team Rocket to have this sort of naming scheme. Jesse and James are named after infamous Wild West outlaw Jesse James, and their rivals Butch and Cassidy are named after another equally infamous outlaw, Butch Cassidy. So I just mentioned that Annie and Oakley are members of Team Rocket. However, this is only canon in the dub, as in the dub they are given a mission by Giovanni, but in the original this moment does not occur. It is also mentioned in the English dub that an Aerodactyl and Kabutops drowned when Latios brought water to the city of Altomare to save it from an evil trainer. This is worth mentioning because even though it's possible that Aerodactyl could drown, it's highly unlikely that Kabutops would drown because it's part water type. The backstory of the evil trainer attacking Altomare and Latios flooding the city to wipe the trainer out is also something that was added in the dub. The original backstory spoke about the origins of the Soul Dew within Altomare's ancient history, and also mentioned that many Latios and Latias have visited Altomare. This backstory, however, was cut in favor of the story of the evil trainer. Speaking of Latios, and spoilers if you haven't seen the movie, Latios actually dies in this movie, and this is the first movie to feature the permanent death of a Pokémon. So remember how I mentioned that in Pokemon Forever, the moment of Ash meeting Pikachu was shown and that Ash was in his regular clothes when he should have been in his pajamas? Well, for some odd reason, this exact same intro sequence is played at the beginning of Pokemon Heroes as well, and the mistake of Ash being in his regular clothes is still present. If they really wanted to include this opening in both movies, you think they would have at least corrected their mistake and put Ash in his pajamas the second time around. It might be kind of obvious, but Alto Mare, the city that serves as the main setting for the movie, is based on Venice, Italy, and is located in the Johto region. Hidden all throughout this movie are some secret images. These images are of Mewtwo, Lugia, Entei, and Celebi, which reference the 4 previous films of the franchise. Go watch the movie and see if you can find these images for yourself, and be sure to let me know in the comments below once you find them. Rounding out Pokemon Heroes with a couple more facts about the villains, there is a scene in the movie where Oakley is typing on her computer. During this scene, several keys on her keyboard can be seen disappearing and reappearing. During the ending credits, Annie and Oakley can also be seen reading about Lawrence III in prison, who was the main antagonist of Pokemon the Movie 2000. Now we move on to the last movie covered in this video, Jirachi Wish Maker. Just as Pokemon Heroes was the last movie to get some form of a theatrical release in North America, Jirachi Wish Maker is the first Pokemon movie to go directly to video for its release in North America. In Pokemon Coliseum for the Nintendo GameCube, there is a trainer that references this movie located on Mount Battle. If you can make it to the 77th trainer in the single battle mode, you will come across a trainer named Ryder Zala. Zala uses a number of key Pokemon from this movie, including Jirachi, Absol, Dusclops, Mightyena, Kirlia, and Flygon. There is also another reference to the movie in Pokemon Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. On the south end of Route 229, there are 2 ace trainers that have their teams based on the teams of Butler and Diane from the movie. In the Japanese version of the games, they even share the same names with Butler and Diane, but in English they are known as Felix and Dana because the translation team did not notice the relation to the movie characters. Another super odd fact is that the original German DVD cover for the movie used the art and logo from Destiny Deoxys. What makes this especially bad is that the title Jirachi Wish Maker is typed out in the font from Destiny Deoxys, meaning that this was a conscious decision from whoever was behind the German DVD release. This error has since been fixed, but thanks to someone's mistake, we now have what is probably the most bootleg-looking piece of official Pokemon merchandise in existence. In one scene where Ash is talking to Max, he makes a reference to Misty and says that he misses her very much. Fans use this moment as evidence of Pokeshipping, although this moment is sadly in the dub only and Ash makes no such reference in the original. And finally, during the ending credits of this movie, the castle from Lucario and the Mystery of Mew can be seen. This movie came out a whole 2 years after Jirachi Wish Maker, so this moment gives you a cool insight into just how far ahead of time both the movies and the games are developed. And that pretty much wraps up all the facts I have to share about these 3 Pokemon movies. I'm really enjoying putting together these videos, and I certainly hope you guys are enjoying them as well. If you want to see more videos covering the rest of the movies, be sure to give this video a like and share it with your friends so I know that you guys are liking it and want to see more. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of my new videos. Also, if you're a fan of my remixes, a bunch of them are now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Spotify. Links are in the description, and any support that you guys can give me on that would be greatly appreciated. I'll be back with another video soon, and until then, I'll smell you guys later.